All right, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. Let's talk about Tua, and there's been a lot of talk about the Tyreek Hill situation. Of a lot of people saying this game sort of proves Tyreek Hill should win MVP because look at the offense without Tyreek Hill. And there's some misleading stats you could use that could make that point really heavily. This one in particular. With Hill, they scored 23 points in this game. Without Hill, they scored 3 points. Wow. I mean, that says it all right there. Well, not exactly. Because one of those touchdowns was a defensive touchdown. So obviously Hill had no impact there. Also, 14 more points came when the Dolphins started a drive inside Tennessee's 15-yard line. And Hill never even touched the ball on either of those two drives. With Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins scored 3 points on 5 drives if you take out the drives starting inside the opponent's 15. And without Tyreek Hill, they scored 3 points on 5 drives. However, it's not that simple either. I would also put this stat as a bit misleading. Well, it might be the stat that, Tua Nation, Tua Non is going to be saying here, Again, at the same time, you also have to factor in there was a fumble on one of those Tyreek Hill drives that was inside the red zone, so there probably would have been points there. A fumble that Hill did not create there. Also, Tyreek Hill was in and out of the lineup pretty consistently. So numbers are just numbers. Let's watch the tape and let's talk about what went wrong. Because like everything, it's not quite as simple as the narrative suggests, but there is some truth in the narrative, right? That's kind of how these things always go. And let's see the tape back that up. So for one thing, something like this, we definitely saw a couple of instances, even early on before the Tyreek Hill injury, which again appears to not be too serious, which is the good news for Miami. But it's going to be a 3rd down and 6, and it's actually cover 3 zone. They're selling as though it's 2 safety deep. They played a lot of 2 safety deep in this game. But post-snap on this play, it's going to drop into cover 3, although either way, that Tyreek Hill route, the one that I've circled in white, the end of the route, could get open underneath the corner who is deep. Watch as when Tua takes the snap, he is going to look down the field. He fires down the field, and there's a window, quite frankly, a wide open window. And again, there's just no denying Tyreek Hill is he's the most valuable non-quarterback in football, right? We can do the whole should a non-quarterback win the award, and we can talk about that maybe at the end of the video. But right now, let's just focus on what happened, what went wrong with the Dolphins offense here. Well, when you have a guy who, is such a deep threat, you have a corner who is still off screen on this play. He's covering that far deep. When Hill cuts over, he gets this open. Tua is going to actually not even make a perfect throw, but Tyreek Hill's, one of the most underrated aspects of his game is how good he is at adjusting to the ball and making a play that way. That's what he was able to do on this one. So, goes without saying, Tyreek Hill, really good at football, really helps out the Dolphins. When he was out there, he really helped out Miami. But again, things didn't go exactly as planned. What went wrong here for the Dolphins? Well, let's go to, Tyreek Hill is down. What were the Titans doing? Because again, we always view this offensively. What went wrong with the Dolphins? Well, sometimes it's not that way. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it's what is the defense doing well, right? That is an aspect of football. So on this play, you see the coverage on the screen. It's a quarters coverage concept, and this is just how you should play the Titans, and it also works out, it's how you should play the Dolphins, and it also just works out that this is what the Titans like to play, so it's kind of a good combination here. But this is what the Titans want to do to you, is they want to keep things in front, and it helps that it's sort of a, first and goal situation for them, as it really can keep things in front. But this is what they were doing regardless, is they had a lot of 2 safety deep coverages, even when Hill wasn't playing. Usually the kind of dilemma you find yourself in is if you just sit back and play zone coverage, well, Tua can pick you apart underneath. But if you have a single safety deep, well, then Tyreek Hill is going to get a 50-yard touchdown down the field. We saw Washington try and take away the underneath stuff and get burned because of it. The Titans are being smart. They're keeping things in front of them. Even with Hill not out there, they're still saying, we got to keep things in front of us. On this play, Miami decides to, not even hand it off, but sort of a pitch, but like a handoff type play. Raheem Mostert not able to get much on this one. Mostert ended up with actually a pretty solid day. Nothing crazy, but 96 yards on 21 carries. So that's 4.6 yards per carry. The 2 touchdowns certainly helped. So had a great fantasy day, right? And a good day in general. Devon Achane ended up with 6.7 yards per carry, so that was good. But still, regardless of how effective of a day you have running the ball, it's rarely going to be better than what the Dolphins can typically do passing the ball. So every time they hand the ball off, it's a win for the Titans. That was kind of their mindset. Plus, it would limit possessions, which is another aspect of what they're trying to do. And so because of that, it would also set up situations like this where, okay, if you're getting them to run the ball more, what's that going to create? It's going to create more third downs where you need someone who can win. And for the Dolphins, usually it's, hey, no worries. We got Tyreek Hill. He can win with the best of them. Well, in this game, they didn't have him out there as much. And so now it's Cedric Wilson is the guy they're looking for here. As you see, Tua takes the snap, and, again, maybe you could have looked towards Jalen Waddle there on that play, I don't know. But they looked for Wilson. He wasn't able to make the play. That's part of what the Titans were able to do in this game was they kept things in front of them. They created some third downs and were able to get some stops on third downs. I mean, the Dolphins ended up just 4 for 13 on third downs. That's definitely not very good, and a big part of it was because, they didn't have Tyreek Hill. So no doubt about it. Hill was a pretty significant impact. He was a loss. He was. But I also think the Dolphins just made some mistakes. I think they had a bad day. I think two things can be true. Hill can be really valuable, and also when he was out there, the Dolphins ended up also having a bad day kind of coincidentally. This one's a 3rd down and 7 situation. Okay, well, let's see what happens. Tua is going to take the snap. He looks over the middle. You see Jalen Waddle he's about to get open. I mean, it's maybe not a perfect situation because there is a Titans player who's covering right over the middle of the field, so maybe a bit dangerous, but definitely looks good. Looks like a chance Tua is willing to take. But Waddle ends up cutting back over the middle, whereas Tua thinks cutting back towards the top of the screen, I should say, while Tua throws over the middle. That nearly gets intercepted. Again, people might look at that and say, wow, Tua's throwing it right to defenders there. It's more of a communication issue, but that has nothing to do with Tyreek Hill. You're still going to throw it to Jalen Waddle next week if Tyreek Hill was playing every snap, right? That's just them making a mistake. I think they had a bad day. I think that the Tyreek Hill thing could be a bit of an excuse. I don't think he was the only reason why Miami struggled in this one. I think it was really credit to the Titans more than anything. I think the Titans had a good schematic game plan, and even when Tyreek was out there, yes, he wasn't fully healthy. Yes, he was coming in and out of the lineup. All that stuff is true, but I think that was the main reason why the Dolphins struggled. And yeah, a part of it was they didn't have Tyreek Hill. Even going over here, another one of his big plays, it's kind of weird how I feel like they played more cover 3 zone with Tyreek Hill out there than with Jalen, when he wasn't out there, which was odd. This is one of his big plays, and again, he got a one-on-one matchup, which they did not give up too many times last night, but the few times they did, well, then Tyreek Hill was able to take advantage. Watch as when this play begins, you see Tua, he's going to, wait for the play to develop. You see down the field, Tyreek Hill is wide open on this play. I mean, again, Tyreek Hill's amazing. He's the best receiver in football. I've been calling him the best receiver in football for at least 5 seasons now. Yeah, he's the best. Tua makes the throw, and they're able to get the long completion. So, again, with Tyreek Hill out there, do the Dolphins win this game? I think probably yes. However, if the Titans never turned the ball over in this game and Tyreek Hill was out there, do the Dolphins win this game? That I don't know. I think that the biggest reason why the Dolphins were close in this game was mostly due to those big splash plays. And I think even if Tyreek Hill was out there for every snap, I do think this would have been a bit of an offensive struggle. And perhaps to me, there's a clear game plan against Miami right now. It's not easy to pull off, and it's still going to be difficult to do. But I don't think it's quite so simple as, once Tyreek Hill gets back there, everything will be fine. But once Tyreek Hill gets back out there, everything will look a lot better. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.